I sincerely say that 10 minutes ago there was this one lovely lady here, and we thought it was going to be a one-on-one session, so we really appreciate you coming. My name is Baptie, and this is Dobson, and we're from Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, which is just very close to Vancouver. And we are truly delighted to be here. We first heard about Baptie Canada when we were at ISTE last year. There were some gentlemen there presenting, and we were just so enthralled with them. We thought, what an amazing place, and so we thought we'd love to come and speak at their conference. Terry and I are teachers of reading. We have worked for many years. We established a center in our school district for students with learning disabilities. So that's kind of our background. We now have our own company called Links to Learning Online, and in our company we work with school districts, helping them develop programs for their struggling readers. We also work with families and students, kind of providing resources for them. So that's our background. All of our resources we put on a Padlet for you, and we'll put this address also in the Edmodo group, so we'll add it to it. But it's just padlet.com/links-to-learning/overcome. You bet. Why don't I just turn this reader off? No problem.
CS9310.
And if you're not familiar with Padlet, I don't know if you're already using Padlet. It's a wonderful tool. We didn't actually include it in our presentation because we don't use it on our iPads as much, but it's basically just like a sticky note that you can set up with a wall, and you can add things to it, your students can add things to it, you kind of set the privacy goals. But what's so nice about it is that, as in so many things, every one of those sticky notes that I put up there is a live link. So it will take you to the site, it will take you to the iTunes store, it will take you to sometimes a document or a movie. So whatever we've got in our presentation will be up on that site. If it's not, please take a business card and use your email address in case we missed something, because we were adding things last night to the presentation.
I've never heard one before. CS 9310. CS9310.
And the other thing is we've got at the end of this session, we were at the IDA in San Diego last weekend. And yes, the more
I still need the code, I need to be able to see it.
CS9310.
We were at the IDA last weekend, and we had asked a couple of companies whose products we use if they would provide stuff to give away at the IDA, and they did. So we said, oh, we're going to this other one this next weekend too. So we do have a couple of door prizes at the end, and we'll show you which products they're for afterwards. So, it's still not working?
It says we don't have
But it's not
permission.
right.
And I've been laughing about that. There were people that had already joined, so
Yeah.
it's just the internet.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, this morning there were people in the group, so I have to try it.
And like I said, all the resources are getting up here too. So this is kind of to set the background. We know that for our learners today, they're connected, they're mobile, they're digitally savvy, and they truly do embrace technology and use it in every aspect of their lives. To learn, more likely to communicate, to socialize, and be entertained. It's like it's in their DNA, and I have a little baby in our family, and pretty amazing how adept they are at getting to where they want to on my iPhone or my iPad.
Did you know more people have access to mobile phones than toilets? That just seems amazing now. And also, there are more than 1.3 million apps in the App Store. Incredible. So it's a little bit like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. And it can be very overwhelming when you're trying to make choices. We have provided an app here that was developed by Kathy Schrock. I don't know if you had a chance to hear her speak this morning, but she's an amazing lady. And we really thought this was one of the better rubrics for evaluating apps, so we've included it. I think one of the things I love about her is that how she emphasizes the importance of why you're choosing that. Does it actually suit the student's needs? Does it address some higher level thinking skills as well, and to what degree? So she's got some really great categories here for evaluating apps. Graphite is another website. Is anyone familiar with Graphite already? Oh, it's a terrific place to go if you're wondering about an app. It's evaluated by a very active group of teachers, so they're in the trenches, they're talking to their students, so you get a perspective from the student as well as the teacher.
And it doesn't just do apps, it does websites, it does programs, it sort of does the whole realm of educational content.
Yeah, wide range of grades, subjects, terrific website. But always keeping in mind that it's the teacher that drives the digital bus. There's lots of things out there, but you're the one that has to decide if it's going to be something that works and the skills that you're working on. It isn't about the app itself, it's about the skills that you're trying to develop when you're using those apps with your students. And we have many that help our kids face some of their biggest fears. When you think about struggling readers, they come to school every day afraid, and we thought this video would sort of remind us of what that fear feels like for them.
It's a little bit long and it's a home video, but bear with us because we think the message is there.
Okay.
I'll be fine. I'll do it. Here goes something, I guess. We gotta jump. Whoa, my skis slipping on. No snow towels. Okay. Say, do you go faster on the end run? A little bit. Is it any steeper, do you think? Not much. Just longer. Just longer. Just a bigger 20, that's all. Bigger 20. I got it. Just as the steps at the top for the first time freaks me out. That's the only thing, it's so fun! Huh? 60 seems like nothing now.
So that's what we're looking for our students, our tools that help them overcome their fears and feel like it's nothing, and great feeling of success at the end. That's one of the great things about technology is how it allows us to personalize, individualize our programs for our students.
And one thing, sorry, I should mention at the beginning is that we've sort of divided our session up into two parts. We're going to do a little bit at the beginning on just some of our favorite tools that help in terms of remediation for students and for that skill development. And then probably the larger part of our presentation is going to be more on how we can help them access information and then share their knowledge. So we just have a few things we'd like to share that we use in our centers.
Now sometimes the programs that we use or apps we use require you to have purchased a larger program that's quite costly. We try to avoid those because you don't know what your budget is and whether you have the ability to purchase those. One of the programs we use a lot with our struggling readers is the Read Naturally program because it's just very highly thought of in regards to the research behind it. It works on modeled reading, repeated reading, and progress monitoring. So the Read Live is the piece that we use a lot that you need a subscription for, and the price varies on that. However, when we were at the IDA, which is the Dyslexia Association conference last week, Many parents were coming up to us and saying how much they enjoy the 1-minute reader app, which is available on the iPad. And the only, I shouldn't say the only difference, but you as a teacher wouldn't have quite as much ability to monitor your students' performance when you're not with them in the app format, but it still addresses all those great strategies for developing reading fluency. So you can see it's great for parents or for teachers because there's a placement component built right into it. They have leveled books. I believe there's 8 levels now, and multiple stories within each book. When you get the app, it's free. However, like many apps, if you want a lot more, you wind up paying. So in the free version, you get 1 book at each level that you can draw from to get an idea, and then if you like it, you can purchase the entire book for the entire level.
But most often we use this particular app as something we recommend for parents. When parents are coming to you asking what they can do to support their child at home, we recommend this.
Because it's great reading practice. It's all nonfiction stories, so that students are provided with modeled reading through a voice. It highlights the text. Then the students are given an opportunity to read along with it several times, as many times as they need to meet a goal, which is about usually 30 more than their full reading timing. There's a great video tutorial built into it, so parents know how to use it, they know how to place their student in the program, how to support them. And the nice thing too is that it requires very little adult supervision. It's nice if an adult is present, but when we're working with really struggling readers, sometimes reading at home is a huge battle for parents. So this way, the student can practice fairly independently, and then they share the polished product more with the parent, which is an awesome way to do it.
So what kind of cost would one be looking at?
So the first part is free, so you get 1 book, 1 story at each level.
Right.
Then it's, I think, $2.99 for just 1 book, which has several stories within the book. I believe it's 5 stories in the book. And then you get the books to complete a set. So I think there's 8 books to complete the set. And that would be about $20.
So per level?
Yes.
Wow. And there's 8 levels.
5
5
levels.
levels.
5 levels?
8 books.
So if you're a K-6 teacher, you're in a lot of trouble.
But I wouldn't buy this as a K-6 teacher. If I wanted to do this same sort of support, I would look at Read Live for a school version. It turns out to be about $15 per student for the year.
So that's a better, but not everybody wants this school-wide, so we put in one that you can purchase individually or your parents can, so you have the 2 options. What students love about many of these things is the ability to monitor their progress, and so it's a little bit like the video game motivation, where they're always wanting to get a better score. Another app that the Read Naturally company has come out with is Platinum, which is a fun app for developing vocabulary using synonyms and antonyms in a very appealing game format. And we, for the past few years, have been using a web-based program called Teach Your Monster to Read. And it has a really nice interface. It works on the very most basic of reading foundation skills. So letter, sound recognition, blending, segmenting, that sort of thing. But they have just come out with 1 app to address those foundation skills. I suspect they'll have their second one coming out soon. But our students absolutely love working on it. And we work with really, really reluctant readers.
Has anybody used Teach Your Monster to Read? It's amazing because it's totally free. And in my center last year, I used it just mostly with my younger students, but my boys in grade 6 would be like, why aren't I on that app? I'm like, well, it's a little bit easier for you. And they actually begged me and I signed them up and they did it during their break time. So it's that engaging for students, so it's why we do it.
Then Reading Raven, again, is something that addresses the most basic foundation skills. We've tried to include things at all levels and thinking in terms of things that will motivate your most reluctant readers, students who are older but achieving at a much lower level than their grade placement. This is one of our favorite spelling apps in terms of remediation because it will tell the student to spell the word, but as you can see, it has the number of letters needed at the top of the red box. But then if you see the next 3 boxes below, is giving the student the hint that 2 letters are making 1 sound. And when you're working with really struggling readers, that's a difficult concept to sometimes get across. So we liked that. Then if they tap on that middle box, it shows them all the options for that way of making that sound as well. So a really good way to kind of address phonemic awareness as well as patterns and rules for spelling.
This is reading Rena? It goes
No,
simplex
this one is
spelling.
simplex spelling, I'm sorry.
It was like, yeah,
Simplex spelling. And they have many, many apps. I think there is a light version and then you pay for the other versions. We started out with the light version and then absolutely loved it and bought lots of versions
And
after.
the paid version varies between $2.99 and $4.99 depending on if it's on sale.
And it goes up to very complex
I
spelling.
was going to say, it's all done, these ones are all done by sort of vowel sounds, but then there's a higher level one that's also done by vowel sounds, but it's multi-syllabic words, so it's really good for the older students.
Then for people who are truly working in a remedial setting, the Sound Literacy app was developed by a speech language pathologist. It works well with almost any kind of intensive phonetic-based program. So if you're Orton Gillingham trained, Benjamin Bell trained, this is a wonderful tool. And it's similar to the way if you use the letters that you cut up and they fall all over the floor and you're scrambling to pick up all your letters. You will love this because you don't have to do that, and it does the same thing. So you'll see students have the tablet up top and they choose which, they call them pantry, they need. So you'll see the first one there is just the alphabet, but then you move into teams of letters, vowel teams, consonant teams, into prefixes, suffixes. And so you can ask students to build words. At the bottom here, you'll see the plus and the minus is where they're going to put sound boxes in and then fill in the letters they need into the sound boxes. So that gives you an idea of how you could be using it with the vowels. This is often programs having a sound mapping of how the sounds are produced in the mouth and so on. So if you're using Lindenwood Bell or Orton Gillingham, this would be handy. Another app that we want to talk about is Reading Trainer. If you're working with students at a higher level, this is what we would recommend. But I've used it with struggling readers in grades 4 and 5 as well. It's actually meant to be a speed reading app, which isn't usually what we're promoting. But what I liked about it was the motivational piece that seems to be built into this, and also the exercises that require discrimination. And so you'll see up there in this particular exercise, the student is looking to see which words are exactly the same, but they're very subtle differences. So when you're working with dyslexic students, that's often what tricks them up. So they're really zeroing in on the fine differences in those words. Oh, sorry, that one. So they have, everything is timed, and they have searching for letters, lots of different activities in there. But like I say, you have to know your student. I wouldn't recommend this at younger grades. It is meant to be speed reading, but I also like that it teaches students to skim and scan quickly.
A couple of years ago, we were working in a high school with like really, really discouraged readers, and this was our favorite one. And it limits the amount of time you can be on in a day, and then they're like, can I go on Reading Trainer again? It was very motivating for older students.
And the graphing is very effective in it. That being said, we did cover a few of our favorite remedial tools that address reading fluency, getting kids to read, more quickly, accurately, to engage them, to look at some phonics skills that they might be using. But what's really important is also that balance between remediation. What do you do when a student has had a lot of remediation? We never give up on teaching students the basics of reading, but at some point as they get older and older, We also have to look at how can we still engage them in all the regular classroom activities and have them be successful in accessing their information and sharing their knowledge. So that's what the next piece of our presentation is on, is how we can help them with those kinds of skills. Because we want them to still develop the higher level critical thinking skills. We want them to be able to solve problems, to create, to collaborate, to communicate, and to overall be good global citizens. And for us, we've seen that technology is truly revolutionizing their lives. It is making a huge difference. We've worked with struggling readers a long time, and our focus was always on remediation, but now we're seeing that the accessibility piece is just hugely helping them overcome their obstacles to learning.
So what we're going to do now is share some ways of accessing and also how they can share their knowledge. And when we were working in the high school a few years ago, the boys, and they're all boys that we were working with, they no longer shared their knowledge because it was way easier for them just to pretend they were stupid and didn't know anything because they'd been shot down for so many years. So we think now we're so fortunate because there are alternative ways. They don't have to be writing that essay. Let's look at other ways to help them be successful and share what they know. Now that being said, we love our books.
What do you have there? Did you scroll down? No. Next alphabet? No. What kind of tweet? No. And text? And Wi-Fi? Doesn't need a password? No. It's a book. Well, I'll be sure to charge it when I'm done. You don't have to. It's a book!
I don't know if you see that, but this is a book, and it's called It's a Book, and it's by Wayne Smith.
And there are two versions, one where he doesn't jump up and say jackass. It's like they have that.
Unfortunately, you can't learn much from books you can't read. And if you look at a lot of struggling readers and you look inside their desks, it is filled with books that they can't read. So what we need to do is find books that they can read. We're going to talk about a couple of ways to do that. One thing that we really like, and there's a few apps like this out there now, this one's called Level It Books, and it's a growing library of books. So that, and this is a really good one to share with parents too, because what it does is it uses the camera on your iPad or iPhone to read the code, and then it will give you the Lexile levels and the grade levels for the books. It doesn't have all books in it, obviously, but it's a good place to start. And then you can also build up your own library and categorize them using this app. But for the most part, we want to look at alternative ways. And I always say when we're talking to teachers or to parents, the first place to look for alternative ways is your own library. Go onto your library's website. It's amazing the resources and the tools that they have there. And it varies from city to city and state to state, I'm sure. But on our library at home, kids have all free access to the Tumble Book Library, whereas typically you'd have to buy that as a subscriber. They also, you have free access to all the Zinio magazines with your library card. So there's so much on there, and often all the World Book is on there and everything. So look at your library, and if your library doesn't have it, talk to somebody else, because you can sometimes access online libraries from other places of where you live. A few other options that I'm sure you're probably familiar with. Oh, the other thing about your library is I'm sure that they've got tons of audiobooks and ebooks that you can just check out. Nice thing about that is the kids check them out, they're on their iPad for 3 weeks, and then they just disappear. They don't have to worry about taking them back or losing them or anything. They'll just disappear when they're done. And the app that you use for that is called Overdrive. So the Overdrive app is how you access those books that you take out from the library. But some of the other ones that I'm sure you're probably familiar with, one is Bookshare. And Bookshare is free for all students with disabilities in the United States. Otherwise, you have to pay, I think it's $75 a year subscription fee. And there's an app called Read to Go to help them get the books from Bookshare. Learning Ally is another one. Learning Ally is $119 a year, so it's not free at all. But it is made up of 65% textbooks. So that's another option for students who are looking for different ways to get information.
Do we have Bookshare in Canada too?
Oh, maybe, right. No, we don't. No, we do, but you have to pay for it.
Okay.
I think it's $99 a year in Canada, and they don't have not as many books make their way to our site. So we actually don't even talk about it when we talk in Canada because it makes us sad. So Bookshare is free here in the United States.
The Learning Ally, with that price, is that per student or
Yes.
is it just the?
There is a school license to that one too.
Okay.
We've never subscribed to any of those things because our budgets aren't rich enough.
Yeah, I know.
Once again, though, that might be something that parents would consider. But quite honestly, I mean, if you plan ahead, the library is amazing. Quite often you have to reserve or, and wait for the book to come in. But it's really, really good for both ebooks and audiobooks. LibreVox is another site, and their goal is all run by volunteers, and their goal is to have as many books possible turned into audiobooks by volunteers, and it's a growing library all the time. I find that a lot of the ones that give free books, it's largely just the classics, like, it's harder to find the more recent modern books that our kids really want to read on some of those sites. Yes?
The benefit of the apps that you're mentioning is that they read the book to
Yes.
you.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm a huge audiobook fan. I'm a huge audiobook fan personally. Like, I actually listen to more books now than I read because I listen when I run, I listen when I drive, I listen all the time. But audiobooks give our students access to material they would never have access to any other way. And they need access to that. If we want to have their vocabularies grow, their comprehension grow, they need to be challenged with that higher level material. We get so frustrated because in our district, the thought is for lit circles and stuff, they have to be able to read the book. And so they're always coming to us like, do you have anything like at the grade 2 level for a lit circle that they can read? And I'm like, no! Give them the audiobook because they have the ability to understand the book. And that's the time when they truly can be, interacting with their colleagues and they can be on an even playing field. So audiobooks, I think, is the way to go. It also introduces them to different genres. I know that I will listen to a book sometime, but I don't think I could plow my way through if I was reading it. So it does give them extra genres. We use Audible. I mean, you do have to pay for Audible. I don't know exactly what the licensing rights are on Audible, or maybe I just haven't chosen to read it. But I mean, what I would do is I would download it to my computer and then I'd put it onto iPods for the kids. The other one that we just kind of learned about recently is, I didn't know this, but YouTube has a lot of books that are available on an Audible book format. You have to be connected to the web to listen to it. And you just go into your YouTube website and just search for the book that you want. Like you were just checking Faulkner Story, boom, all these different versions came up. The same version that I had just kind of bought the day before. So, lots of the new stuff.
Subtext also reads too.
Okay, then. Sadie's going to be presenting on subtext tomorrow at 3:30. 3:15.
And it'll also read all books too, so that if you want to find a book, you can have them read it too.
Perfect.
What is that called?
Subtext.
The other thing too is that even if you're not doing an audiobook, if you look at the ebooks, such as Kindle or iBook or any of those, they have so many features that aren't available in a paper version of a book that can really support our struggling readers. For example, they all have dictionaries built into them, so right away, the student can highlight the word, click on the dictionary. We know on the iPad it will read it all to it too. It'll read any word. I wouldn't recommend having a book read through iBooks. I think now on the new iOS 8 you can do speak screen, and so it will actually read the whole screen to you. But it's not the most exciting ones. And I think if we're going to have our kids listen to audiobooks, it should be well narrated audiobooks, not the Kurzweil audiobook, because we want to engage them, we want to hook them on literature, and if it's a computer voice, it doesn't really do it. The other thing, this is just an example of a Kindle book, but if you click on the top, it's not in every book, there's a thing called X-ray, and what X-ray will do is we'll zero in on the page, and for example, on that page I zeroed in on the word Paris. So it gives you all the information about Paris, and it tells you all the other pages where Paris was mentioned. So you can get so much background knowledge just by clicking up in the corner of the book. And down this side of the book, see where it says book extras? If you go on book extras, look at all the options you have. You can find out about the setting, there's a glossary, there's even a note for parents about the book for young adult books. And also books like this. So if somebody likes this book, here's some other ones you might want to look at. Background information, you can click on any of those and there's just a wealth of information for you. The other thing too is that the kinds of books that you can buy through the App Store are so interactive. And they just add a whole new dimension for reading for our students. Terry, you can learn that.
I mean, I still love the feel of an old-fashioned book in my hands, but sometimes what an audio or an e-book can bring to the table for a struggling reader is just incredible. It's far more interactive. They can highlight notes, make notes, you can often jot things down in the middle. It brings in all the media so they can access information through video, incorporated right into it. I just want to share this one, how Al Gore's book changed the way we read.
This one shows the wind potential all around the United States. But instead of just showing us the information, we can take our finger and explore and see state by state exactly how much wind potential there is. We need the same for geothermal and solar power. This is one of my favorites. So this shows when the wind is blowing, any excess energy coming from the windmill is diverted into the battery. And as the wind starts dying down, any excess energy will be diverted back into the house for light to never go out.
So that Al Gore is an inconvenient truth. I don't know if you've seen it before, but I think it's a good way of sharing how engaging that could be for a struggling reader. And the neat thing is now our kids can make those interactive books.
I don't know if you've had your students make books on iPad, but what you can do on a site like that is pretty incredible. And the finished product is something you can be so proud of.
You can make your own textbooks too as well.
When you're looking for digital books, just like Terry said, there are millions of things in the App Store. This is a site we like to look at for digital book reviews. So what you can do is you can look by overall rating, you can look by age level, by subject level, by the cost, whether it's a free book or one you have to pay for. And it's got really good information on it. It's got just a wealth of books on it. This is called Digital Storytime, and it's in our thing. It's so much fun to be at an iPad conference because typically when we're speaking at conferences, we are like total Apple people. That's all we use, except for my distance. We don't use it there. But in real life, that's all we use. And when we're talking about struggling readers, it's just so obvious. Get an iPad. Get one of the Apple devices because so much is built right into them, and that's what we love about it. It will read things to you. I mean, all you need to do is turn that on in your settings, and it will speak anything that is on your iPad to you. And also, you can, text or speech to text. You can speak, and it will put it. And that isn't just if you use Dragon Dictation, which is like a great app, but you don't even need that anymore. All you need to do, anytime there is a text box, you can just speak into it. You can speak your tweet, you can speak whatever you want, you can speak your email. So it's all just built right into it.
And Wikipedia is another site that I think is just great for struggling readers because they've incorporated some great accessibility features that I don't think many people are aware of. After 244 years, Encyclopedia Britannica stopped their presses and now it's had to focus on online content. And Wikipedia has always been considered a little bit suspect in terms of, whether the information is reliable. But it's becoming more and more accurate every day. They have a team of editors that are working tirelessly on it. It's interesting because it is all a volunteer organization, so it's surprising how well it works. It's still, I think, the 6th most popular website out there. And we had a student the other day that was saying, well, you know, everything on Wikipedia isn't true. Well, you have to learn to be a critical reader, and I think that's important whether you're on Wikipedia or anywhere else. And for students doing research, often, if they look something up on Wikipedia and they don't find anything, they'll stop their research right there and choose something else. So we have to, you know, help them become good consumers of whatever they read in, you know, any website. But some of the cool features for a struggling reader within Wikipedia is the fact that you can get articles in simple English. So you're probably aware that Wikipedia is available in, I think it's at least 40 different languages. But the simple English is a language that you can choose. So when you go to Wikipedia and you go down this sidebar, you can change to another language. So if you pick simple Wikipedia, it will change the types of words, shorter sentences, and summarize the content. Even the grammar will be a little easier for students to handle. So here's what a regular article on the brain in Wikipedia looks like. If I just change the language to simple English, that's what it does. So again, for differentiating instruction within your classroom, that's a great tool. And we've often used the app WikiTap, but they now have Wiki Mobile. You can still, within your Safari browser, go to Wikipedia, and that's what I do most, but they also have Wiki Mobile.
When I get that read, if it's on, not on an iPad, but just on a desktop, will they read that to me? Will
Yes.
it be read?
Yeah.
Okay, using what?
If you have your accessibility features turned on, then you can have it read that way.
So like on your Mac, you just go into your the settings or system preferences, and you just turn on this text-to-speech portion. And you can also change the voices, so it's really not bad.
Another feature for a struggling reader is Wikipedia is all Creative Commons content, so you are allowed to take that content and copy it. So if you're trying to collect information on a topic for a struggling reader, they can create a book of information on a topic rather than trying to figure out which website they were at. If you go here to create a book, kind of blurry, isn't it? But anyway, make a book. And then at this top here, you'll see book creator, start the book creator. Then you can add a page to your book, whichever one you're currently on. And then you can show the book, so it'll show you what your collection looks like. And then you can start to manage it, so you can give it subtitles, a table of contents. You can move the pages around into different sections. And you can also order it as a printed book if you choose to. Now, there's a significant cost to doing that, but perhaps a parent might want to do that to have a copy. And then when you order your book, you can choose covers and add all kinds of graphics and so on. But you can also keep it just as an e-book. Now, another website for struggling readers to access information on a topic such as social, science, English, is good old Brain Pop. And there's lots of free information on there for teachers as well as students. They always have their daily featured movie, lots on technology, lots of professional development in there for teachers as well, so we wanted to mention that one. Spark Notes or Cliff Notes, whenever you can provide kind of a summary for students and a little bit of background to help the student understand the stories, something like Spark Notes is a good choice. So you can see you get a list of characters, an analysis, a little bit about the theme or the plot of the story. And then you'll get summaries, study questions, for example. And I also like that you get other recommendations for reading. Here's what the chapter summary would look like for that novel or Hatchet. The only thing about some of these free light versions, and that's why I sort of use this screenshot, is you do have to watch because they have the advertising at the bottom often.
So now what we'd want to move into a little bit more is, after they've accessed that information, how can they share their knowledge?
iWordQ is something relatively new. We were working with a speech psychologist whose daughter was dyslexic, and she was telling us that she was using this app in college and that it was a lifesaver for her because it was a word prediction program. It's probably not quite as amazing in the last few months since iOS devices have included predictive text, but this will also read to the student too, so it's another added feature. But often some of these ones, like iWordQ, is developed more for a struggling reader rather than an overall app, so sometimes you just get some higher quality features in terms of accessibility.
And they've actually given us, it's an expensive app, but they've given us one to give away today, so.
So some of these are not apps that you would want to make sure you had on, obviously, everyone's iPad in your class, but there are certain ones that.
What does that do again?
Pardon?
What does it do again, that app?
It's like predictive text for the most part, but it will also read the text back to us.
What do you mean by predictive text?
So when they start typing, it will, they type one letter, two letters, it comes up with suggestions as what the word might be. So, and then the nice thing that it will do is it will, so you know how now even on your iPad you've updated to the latest version, you get that predictive text across the bottom. But with iWordQ, it will read all of those choices to them, which is nice because they need that. And it will also tell them, like let's say the choice of the word is to, it will give them examples of what kind of a to it is. And then you can set it up so that it either reads, every time they finish a word, it will read that word to them, or it will read the entire sentence to them, or the entire paragraph.
And then you got a college student, you just, can you type your document in that?
Yes.
And then?
Yeah. Okay. And then you can export it into like Google Drive or whatever you want to do. And then on the desktop version, which we also use, if you turn on iWordQ, then it just sort of comes up as a side thing in your Word document so that, you know, you can save it all just as a Word document. It's just kind of an extra tool. It's sort of like, the desktop version looks like Co-Writer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Co-Writer. It was a program that was around a long time ago, and it would, you know, you type the first 3 letters, and then it would just give you this list of word choices that it thinks it might be.
What if they do if you're wildly off? If you're, how good is it at figuring it, trying to figure out the context?
If you have it read it back to you, then you would also have an idea that you were wildly off.
And you know, that's a huge tool for struggling readers, is to use that text-to-speech feature, whether you're using this or just the speech features on their computers, to have their things read back to them, to help them with editing. Because you know, it's a good tool for us too. You know, you write something and you've checked it a whole bunch of times, and then someone else reads it and they find a mistake you didn't know about. So if you have it set to be read back to you, they can catch a lot of those mistakes.
Do a lot of like English as second language students, they use apps like this?
Yes, for sure, yeah. And then that's really good because they're hearing the correct pronunciation of the words in English and whatnot.
Now, Ginger is a grammar spell checking app. There's also a web version. You can see it's available for all kinds of devices. It's for browser extensions as well. And here are some of the skills that it will do. The neat thing about the Ginger Grammar Spell Checker is that it is more powerful than the ones that are usually built right into your devices. It was, again, designed specifically for students with dyslexia. So it catches the words like knowing which to you meant to put in, which right you meant to put in. It'll help you rephrase something if it thinks it's not correct. It will translate. It has the dictionary built right into it. It'll also read text back to you. And the neat thing about this app too is it has a personal trainer, so it would provide exercises as well. Like most, there's a light version and there's a paid version. So it might be that if you have a student who is hugely struggling, then maybe the family is willing to pay for the paid version of the app. But the light version gives you the grammar spell checking feature on a limited basis. it will read the bubble letters, which are your word choices. It will read those to you. You only get so many per week, and then it will still provide the correction, but you have to insert it. It won't just do it for you. So they've just built some kind of funny little quirks into it that way to try and promote you to pay for it. After a week, it refreshes and you get more features again for longer.
But we always start with the light version of everything.
To see if
See if you like it, see if it works for you and your students.
And more things are coming out where we might love this now, but a new program comes out that's a competitor that's less money and the same thing, so you just never know. This gives you a little bit of an idea of how it looks. So in the browser extensions, it's awesome because you can use it for your Facebook, Twitter. We had a college student again that we were working with, and she was really frustrated because when she was on Facebook with her friends, her spelling was so poor that she would never spell their names right and so on. Well, this becomes very intuitive and knows what you want to say after a while, and it'll just make those corrections for you. So for her, it was huge. This just tells you a little bit, again, that I've covered most about what's free and what isn't, and the limited mode is for a certain period, and then you're upgrading where with the basic paid version, you get unlimited use of the grammar spell checker. But if you go to the premium version, you get unlimited use of everything. So that's just the difference.
So in your experience,
Yes.
and this really is not an iPad app kind of question, but when kids use that, is it increasing their ability then to write more accurately? Or do they become dependent? Like, and you use this a lot, it sounds like. So I'm just curious, what is their progress?
I think it encourages them to write more.
That's it.
And so that's sort of our first goal, is to get them to actually write, because now they're successful writers. You know what, with most tools, I find that they don't need it, they don't use it. They use it while they need it. Because anything, they move beyond some of these tools too.
I mean, I guess it's a little bit, I was looking at the new iOS keyboard feature in terms of when we're saying predictive text. And usually when I'm writing a text message, I should go back every day, but don't.
You really should. Yep.
And then I haven't been very aware of the fact that those options are down because you're in a hurry. I think you have to teach kids to take advantage of those tools, or maybe you have to teach adults to take advantage of those tools, to look down. The options were right there for me.
And that's so true with the new iOS predictive text. Like if you actually slow down,
You
would
do
be
a
way more
better
accurate.
job. So it's a matter of training them to go back, because we are very speed oriented, and that's, we don't check that autocorrect does it right for us every time. So to learn to slow down and do a better job and use some of these features is also a good skill. And some of this is so new, I don't know if we really know the research results of how it impacts their actual achievement.
But you know what's huge is that so many of our students, if you try to read their writing, especially their handwriting, teachers just get fed up. And they don't realize that they do have a good message to tell them. So if we can give them some of these tools, and all of a sudden their writing looks better, they feel better about it, and I think it's being recognized more by teachers.
So we've included, Ginger has a new app called Ginger Page. And so again, it does some of the same things that are built right into your iOS devices, but it may be a little more powerful in that it'll choose the right word between two words that are, like right and right. It's an example in the image there.
The next one that we've used for years and love is Quizlet. Anybody use Quizlet? It was actually developed by a grade 9 student, and it's totally free. And basically what it is a flashcard app, and it's a flashcard website. But one of the reasons we like it is there's thousands, millions of flashcard sets on the app or on the website, but students can create their own. So they can put their own word in, their own definition, and it reads it all to them, and then it plays back some fun games so they can practice. So we're just going to show you a quick video that is a little bit. you have to do this in Quizlet, I think you do. On a lot of programs and apps that we use with our students, you have to enter an email, and that's always a problem because you're not necessarily wanting to give up your students' email. The way we do it is if you have a Gmail account, you just can trick them a little bit by adding a +1. So my first student is links to learning +1 @gmail.com. My second student is links to learning +2 @gmail.com. The programs always recognize that as a unique email address, but you're not giving your student's email address, and all the email comes back to you at your email account. So it's a great way to sign students up for programs. And actually the reason we learned about it was when Terry was setting up a group that we were working with for Animoto. And Animoto was the one that said, the way you do this if you're a teacher is just put the +1 after your Gmail and you will recognize it as a difference.
Was that plus like water, does that only work with Gmail?
I haven't tried it with anything else. I know it would work with my school district one,
Right.
but I haven't tried it with Hotmail or anything like that.
And then after Quizlet, we just want to throw in Evernote Peek. So with your iPad, if you want to study your questions, if you close the cover and then lift, it'll give you a hint to the question and then the answer as well. So just kind of a fun way to use that to study, say, your flashcards, or even if you're using the Evernote app, you can use your notes within there to create your own kind of flashcard format, and it's all very intuitive and automatic. Another great tool is to look at flashcards that are more voice flashcards, so it's someone reading the questions and the answers. In this case, I came across voice cards and not flashcards because my daughter was in college and had a very long commute. And she and her girlfriends were frustrated by the amount of time they were spending driving instead of studying. So we looked up voice cards are not flashcards, and it was incredible because all the time they had this long drive into school, they could actually be listening to their flashcards as voice flashcards. But for a struggling reader, it just isn't that other way to access the information. We've used Blogster. Have you used Blogster with your students? Wonderful tool. We had used the web-based version for a long time, and the app was only available more for commercial, not the education site. Well, now it's available as the education site. This is a Blogster that we created for a workshop, so everything there is an active link. So I can pull in an image. It's just a drag and drop kind of menu. And each one of those will link to a website of information or a video. So for a student who struggles with writing an essay or something like that, it's a beautiful visual representation where they can create videos or link to information that they've found on the topic. And it is now available as an app on the iPad. Very, very easy to use. Now Erasma, has anyone used Erasma here? It's kind of a cool app. It's like QR codes without the QR code. It's hard to explain, but basically you can take any image and it will come to life. So I had actually wanted to show you today on my iPad, which was interesting because they did an update just this morning. Just this morning I thought I should put that update in. And it said it was to fix some sort of bug. Well, now my Erasma isn't working. I'm sure they'll fix it again, but it worked last night. I wanted to show you how cool it was. But Erasma, if you see this sign anywhere in a magazine, and you have the Erasma app on your iPad or your iPhone, and you take your camera up to it, all of a sudden, whatever page you're looking at in the magazine will come to life with some sort of message.
It's phenomenal. It's like kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Our teachers use it all the time for, when they do it with the artwork that's in the hallway, kids can walk by and.
Yeah, so if you think of, meet an open house night with the
What is that
parents.
called again?
Erasma. So you create auras, or you can access other people's auras. Some are geographical, so if you're coming up to a famous building, all of a sudden you can hold your iPad up and you'll get all kinds of neat things, information about the building.
Terry's linked them to so many things. Like you can link them to a YouTube video. You can link them to An interview, you can make
Podcasts.
interviews, yeah.
In this, just one thought for one sec. You see that swirl in the middle? That's what starts to happen. So if I had taken my camera up to this, you'd start to see my iPad swirl, and then all of a sudden, it'll come to life and you'll see an image or you'll get a video start to happen. And in this case, we wanted to share because we had been looking at trying to engage kids in books and talking to summer school students too. And so you could set up a speed dating with books center, so you have books all over the room, and as the student holds the iPad over the book, in this case I had hooked up the Hunger Games trailer to the book, so it's a YouTube video. And on the other one, if I held my iPad up, I would get an interview with Jodi People talking about, you know, the story behind 19 Minutes. So a very cool app. I wouldn't update it today.
The other thing that I still can't wrap my head around is that you could actually, like, Terry could set me up as the aura, so that if you put your iPad up to me, something happened. Like, it's fascinating stuff for our kids. A couple of other, we're going to end with a bunch of sort of fun ones that we wanted to share with you. ThingLink. What ThingLink does is it takes any picture and turns it into a live link. So here's a picture of a book cover. So think about this as a way of students sharing their knowledge. So students sharing their knowledge on a topic. So I've taken Patricia Placco's book, The Bully, and I have added links to a video, to her Twitter feed, to a bookstore where you can buy the book, to a podcast. You can link it to absolutely anything. And it can be a picture you've taken, any kind of picture you can imagine, and you can link anything to it, and then you can share it. Do you know it's fantastic? You will have sort of recommend this, but it will give you a headache because your people want to do it all the time. It's an amazing storytelling tool. Probably for younger students, but our older students like it too. So what you basically do is, what's nice about it is it talks about the stages of the story and how to create a story. So it encourages them setup, conflict, challenge, climax, and resolution. And what they basically do is they put cartoon characters in, or it could be a picture that you've taken, you get a background, you put these characters in, and then when you push record, you move the figures as you tell the story. And then you go to the next scene and you move the figures as you tell the story, and then it creates a video. And it's very, very easy to use, and the kids really love it. Another one that, to make a book is called Story Creator. There are so many book creation apps out there. We just wanted to highlight two for two different purposes. The reason I like Story Creator is because I put it, this was actually a project that my students did last year about, and it was a version of the red mitten and the animals going into the mitten. So here's the child's artwork. This is what he said, and I typed for him. But what will happen is this will read it back to you, and it highlights the words as it reads it. So it's great for beginning readers. So you speak, and then you can go in and make sure you can see that it's matched to the speech tones along the way. So it's really, really good for beginning readers because they're seeing that highlighted word as they're reading their book. And the other book creator app is called Book Creator, and it's very, very robust. Similar to what you can do in iBooks Author, in that you can add video, you can add links to things outside the books, you can speak, you can type, you can save it as an iBook. So it's just lots and lots of things. And I don't know if you've created books with your kids, but the sense of accomplishment they get when they create a book is phenomenal.
And Telegami is a great little tool for creating and sharing quick videos with animated characters, avatars. So this is one where Heather's student decided to tell a little bit about himself. We don't choose them because they're the be-all end-all, but it's just kind of cute to see how this student used it. And you can kind of hear a little bit of his confidence in how he's sharing information. And that's so important because so many of the kids we work with, they lack confidence. So whenever you can kind of give them a way where they can feel more comfortable, and sometimes hiding behind an avatar is a good way to do that. So you'll hear
My only thing I don't like about this is that you can record your own voice on Telegami, But he chose to use a computer voice. I don't know why. I think that was just his shyness, but the voice is a computer voice.
So he gets to choose kind of a mood and a setting, he gets to choose the angle that he's speaking at in this, you'll get that.
Hi, my name is Bob. I am a money collector. I have money from all around the world. I mostly have old Canadian money. I have Canadian $1 and $2 bills and also have old Canadian 5 bills from 1835. I have US money and I also have the old American 5 from 1921. My favorite coin is an old 1721 coin made out of wood. It's worth over $500. My favorite bill is a big old German $1,000 from just after the war in 1923. It's worth $3,000.
Okay, just a fun way, we were also saying it's a great way to get students to practice their reading fluency, get them to polish something that they can hear what their reading sounds like. They want to improve it so they hear the expression, the prosody, those sorts of features within their work. Chatterpix is a new
Can
one.
I just ask a question? The telegram,
Yes,
do they type it in or do they speak it in?
they can speak it.
They can speak it or type it. If they speak it, it's their voice. It records their voice, and if they type it, then they can do the computer voice.
Okay, so they don't have to speak it in.
They don't have to. He
So
didn't want
for
to
kids
use
that
it.
just would absolutely,
Yeah.
melt if you put them in front of the room?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Depending on the comfort level, right? So Chatterpix is a new app that we just heard about. Again, if you're wanting kids to share their knowledge in a different way or to do repeated reading of text, what you can do is you can take any image like that and you can make it speak. So you'll see you drawing the dotted line across and that will make the mouth. And so then whatever you speak will come through that character.
He opens and closes his mouth.
And sock puppets, I know a lot of people are familiar with that, but again, great way for kids to set up role play situations, but also I used it for reading fluency with students and just have them do their repeated reading so they could hear the prosody, they could share it with others, and just hear what their reading sounds like. Here's what sock puppets.
Hey, Marsha, what's new with technology? Well, I'm so excited. We have a new app on our iPods and iPads called Sock Puppets. Yeah, they're like us. We can make our own movies now with people like us. Hooray! Check them out at the library.
Well, even though the format is somewhat of more of a primary format, we found that the older kids have fun with it too. Animoto has been around for a long time for creating impressive videos in a very short period of time. Have any of you used Animoto before for video making? It's amazing. So you know how you can spend all those hours preparing a beautiful year-end video? This is your answer to creating that quickly and very effectively. We used Animoto when we were trying to get to know these high school boys that we were working with. We had 15 boys that were all reading years below their grade level. They were beaten up and just, very discouraged learners. So we had to really work hard to think of ways to engage them. And we decided to, instead of having them tell us all about me or write an all about me essay, we decided to have them create a multimedia format. And the nice thing about creating a video is it closely parallels the writing process. So they were still having to think of the content that went in, getting their meaning across in fewer words, but also when you add in the images, the power behind adding music to those images. And this again, we didn't choose this because it's necessarily the best quality video, but I think what you'll see is the message that very easily came through from this young fellow that if I had just asked him to write an essay about himself, I would have never known the kinds of things about him that I discovered.
shows the music too.
Yeah, it shows the images, it shows the music, and you get a sense of feeling misunderstood and in a dark place. Yeah. Great show.
We're quickly running out of time, so I just want to share a couple of new ones we've just learned about. Shadow Cut from DU is another way of creating videos in the classroom. And the reason we picked this, that we like it so much, is that you can combine your own photos and videos with pictures that are just on the app. So from the Library of Congress, from the Museum of Art, from a lot of creative common places. You put in all your images, your videos, and then you can record your voice over, adding music, your voice, and while you're doing the recording, you can also add text or pictures too. And then it combines it all into a video.
What was that one called?
It's called Shadow Puppet, EDU. And then the other new one that we just started to work with is called Adobe Voice. And much the same way, it's another way of having students create a video. And I'm just going to show you the video on it very quickly.
We all grew up listening to stories, learning what happened to our hero, understanding big ideas, or getting inspired to take action. But how can you tell your story and get people to listen? Use your voice. Skip the blank page. Just talk to tell your story, one line at a time. Pick from over 100,000 images to show it. Choose the mood with music. Tap to make it look amazing. And then, just see it move. Introducing a whole new way to craft videos to share online in minutes. Connect the people close to you, but the whole world. Storytelling is fun again. This is your voice. Tell your story. The world can't wait to see it.
Now, as Terry's going to talk about one last action, we're going to have an evaluation board. We'd love to hear from you. And also, we do have, we've got them all, bring them back up, and we do have these two pretty cool prizes to give away. One is I Word Q, and one is a $200 gift certificate from Lee Baptie. So fill them out and we'll be happy to share them.
Now, I want to tell you a little bit about auto wrap. Heather and I were just at a Google Plus workshop a couple of weeks ago, and a fellow introduced us to auto wrap. So basically, if you can speak it, you can rap it. And it takes the syllables in your voice and matches it to the music. And so I tried it out just by reading one of Naturally's stories. And it's scary because you can't get this out of your head. And the fellow warned us about that. So if you have one of those lower level kind of thinking skills, but something that you want a student to remember, if you have them do it with auto wrap, I'm sure it will stick with them. Again, it has a light version that is free, and then a paid version, which I haven't tried the paid version yet. But I said to Heather, I discovered right away one of the downfalls was I recorded this quick little rap and I thought, oh, this is going to drive her nuts. So I was going to email it to her because you can share it. But on your first initial free ones, they don't stay. So I lost my
I was so sad.
But I think your kids would really have fun with it.
And we just want to add, while you're doing the forum with this little video, you may have seen this video, but never forget this. Because you do matter, you make a difference. so just remember that you really had a huge impact on the kids. So thank you very, very much for coming. We will put up that Padlet again for you, and we will also add the link to the Padlet to the Edmodo group. But please, if you have questions, put them in the Edmodo group or email us, whatever you want to do. If we can help you in any way, please let us know, okay? Any questions before you go? We'll do the call as soon as we get there. You there? This is just links to learning@gmail.com. Just, sure. Or don't hold it, doesn't matter which students speak class. Oh, actually, this is so non-techy, it's kind of embarrassing, but Claire and I just